Hi everyone, Steve Wyss here, joined by Kevin Harper for the latest Allsportsbettingpod cricket IPL match previews. And we've got the Eliminator now between Sunrisers Hyderabad and Kolkata Knight Riders. It's quite simple for both these teams now. If they lose, they're out. And the winner will go and face Mumbai Indians for a place in the final at the weekend. So it's all or nothing. The Sunrisers were in this position last year, Kev, and they eventually went on to win the tournament. So do they hold an edge in that regard?
Well, I guess technically, Steve, both teams were in this position last year because this was the Eliminator last year. Sunrisers beat Kolkata in that game. That was in Delhi, not in Bangalore like this one is. But of course, Sunrisers have good memories of Bangalore, won't they? This is where they won the title last year, bashed up over 200 in the process. Defended it fairly comfortably. But then I guess on the flip side of that, Kolkata haven't got too many unhappy memories of Bangalore either, have they? They were the last visitors here not so long ago, and they smashed the Bangalore attack all around India, not just Bangalore. So, interesting game ahead, actually. Both sides have won one game each in the regular season. Both won their home games. Kolkata defended 170-odd, maybe 180. David Warner belted that majestic century in Hyderabad when the two sides met. So it's set up quite nicely, actually. Yeah, defending champions against arguably the best side in IPL history. Whichever storyline you want to pick up in this game, it's there to be written, really.
Yeah, the bookies can't separate either side either, and my personal feeling is it's going to be a close one. Now, obviously, it's held on neutral territory here in Bangalore, and the common consensus is the wickets have been a bit dodgy here this year, Kev. You wouldn't agree with that, but surely now that we're at the centrepiece of the IPL, a lot of time and effort will have been made to prepare a really good batting strip, more than usual.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Steve. Not just that. Obviously, the next qualifiers here as well on Friday. So if they're going to use the same wicket, then they need to make sure it's a damn good one. Otherwise, Friday will be a complete and utter write-off. They would keep on talking about this sub-air system, don't they, that dries all the moisture out. Well, there's a simple solution for that, isn't there? Put more moisture in the wicket. We're not talking rocket science, are we? So it's not like the pitch can't be built up to the kind of level that we would expect on this ground. Even then, I still don't think it was anywhere near as bad as people made out. As Kolkata showed in that last game, they belted 10 sixes without even blinking. They only batted 15 overs. So there's that to it, isn't there? It's an interesting one, really, Steve, in many ways, because going into the weekend and the final round of matches, okay, Kolkata near enough knew their fate, didn't they? Kings 11 was going to have to do something pretty remarkable to knock Kolkata out of the playoffs. But they had a chance to seal their place in the qualifier, didn't they? They had home advantage against a Mumbai Indians game who, let's be honest, judging by their team selection, they sacked the game off completely, didn't they? Everyone who was anyone in that game was rested. And okay, Mumbai have got bench strength, although where 30% of people on Tuesday's game believe Pune had more of it. Not sure, but they have got bench strength, Mumbai, and that showed. But even then, Kolkata, if you'd offered them at the start of the season, you've got one game, your last game, against Mumbai's reserves at home, win it and you're in the qualifier, they'll have snapped your hand off and said, yes, please. So I just wonder if that's going to have an effect on them, the fact that they didn't just lose, they never looked like winning the game. At no stage were they ever convincing that they were going to win that game. And then flip that around to the Sunrisers, who needed to win their last game to be absolutely certain of making it through to this eliminator. Yes, they would, as it turned out, they would still have been in anyway because Pune beat the Kings 11. But they didn't want to leave it to chance, did they? And okay, they were only playing the Gujarat Lions. But at one stage, Gujarat was just starting to get away from them with the bat and they pulled it back. And then Sunrisers were 25 for 2, wasn't they? Shikhar Dhawan had gone, been in great form. Moses Enriquez also gone. And then you thought, oh my God, no Yuvraj Singh, no Kane Williamson. Who on earth's going to score all these runs? And that's been certainly your thing about them throughout the whole of the season, hasn't it? And to be fair, you've not been too far wrong, although I've defended them and their lack of balls in their lower order. And all of a sudden, up stepped a man, Vijay Shankar. Now, we're going to go into him in more detail a bit later on. But that could just have been the catalyst that Sunrisers need going into these playoffs. All of a sudden, that one remaining doubt about them, about could someone in their lower order come up and rescue them if ever they got into trouble, which inevitably they're going to have to do at some point in these playoff series. Nothing is going to go swimmingly for 3 straight games. And he did. And I think Sunrisers are going to get an awful lot more from the weekend than what Kolkata did. And I just wonder if that's going to play out in this game. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, I've felt throughout the whole tournament that their problem is that middle order. If the top guys fail, and to be honest, the top guys don't fail very often for the Sunrisers. Usually, someone hangs around there long enough. Even early in the tournament, when Warner wasn't at his fluent best, he did stick in there a bit. You know, perhaps more defensive 50 compared to some of them. So. Yeah, this guy Shankar came in. I don't know whether it's just one swallow making a summer or not, but it was very encouraging for them. Obviously, going forward, we'll talk about him in a minute. But your first bet for the game, 14 or more sixes at even money. And for any first-time listeners, I suppose you're going to have to talk them through the dimensions of this ground, Kev.
Yeah, it's tiny, Steve. It's the tiniest ground in the competition. Not just is it a tiny ground, it's fairly close to the northeast. You know, there's altitude that comes into play as well. The air's quite thin there. The ball travels a long way. Anyone new to the tournament, if they just think back to the World Cup here in 2011, this is the ground that Ireland beat England on. And if you can think back to that game, Kevin O'Brien, of all people, was bashing England all over the place. It wasn't that he was necessarily the biggest hitter in the world. It just goes to show how small the ground is. This is a tiny ground. You're talking in certain places here, particularly if they're not in the middle of the square, you're talking sort of boundaries less than 60 meters. So mishits are quite capable of going for 6 here.
Yeah, pretty straightforward bet, really. Even if the wicket is not particularly good, it's more than capable of covering on this line. But if it's an absolute belter, then watch out boundaries, because they should be cleared on a regular basis. 14 or more sixes. Now let's talk about Shankar. There's a couple of bookmakers at the time of recording this podcast who have dangled a carrot 33-1 that he will be the top scorer for the Sunrisers in this game. That's Ladbrokes and Coral at the time of recording. Quite a lot of other bookies are at a much shorter price. So it's one of those, when you're listening to this, quickly check. I would not be surprised if these prices are gone quite quickly. But Vijay Shankar, he came in at number 4 last time. You would expect the same again?
Only if Yuvraj isn't fit, Steve. Yuvraj faces a fitness test. If he's not fully fit, can they risk him, bearing in mind they're going to have to play 3 games in 5 days? Possibly not, but then again, it is Yuvraj Singh, isn't it? But if Yuvraj Singh is fit, it might just be that Shankar comes in ahead of him anyway. So yeah, he could well bat 4. If Yuvraj is fit, he'll bat 5. That innings guaranteed Shankar's place in the side, and it guaranteed that he'll get a decent role in the side as well. As I've said before, carrots aren't my favourite vegetable, but I can't resist a good chomp on this one. It's just too big, Steve. I mean, it's too big regardless of the situation. He showed in the last game he can bat. Even if he was coming in at number 8, you'd almost have to take this purely because of how he bats. That wasn't necessarily a fluke. He made 63 not out in that last game against Gujarat. That isn't his highest T20 score. So that shows that he is a genuine batsman or genuine all-rounder, because he does bowl medium pace as well. We've got to take it as it is, really, haven't we? Will he get enough time at the crease? Well, time will tell. Obviously, we're relying on the 2 top run scorers in the competition having an off day for this bet to land. But, you've got to take your chance at that price. It's clearly a silly price. He's going to bat in the top 5, top 6 at an absolute push. And nobody who bats that high is this price. It's just a silly price. And hopefully, for once in this tournament, someone's going to pay the price for it.
33-1. Yeah, as I say, it might be you're listening to this and those odds aren't available, but certainly at the time of recording they are. And
You can bet this down to any double figure price, Steve. I mean, if the fella's going to walk in at 4 like he did in the last game, then, double figures on any number 4 in any game, in any situation, you immediately got yourself some value. So yes, we need Warner to fail. That's no guarantee by any stretch of the imagination. But if he does, whatever price you take in double figures, you're getting a serious value bet.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. Double figure price. Really, anything sort of above that mark is more than acceptable. Vijay Shankar, top Hyderabad Sunrisers batsman. Now, Kolkata Knight Riders. Who do you think is going to be their top scorer?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, Steve? Because the Sunil Narayan experiment has exploded, hasn't it? He's been found out now. Teams now know how to get him out. Bowl it somewhere around his hip to his chest area, and it's straight up in the air it goes. And that won't have been lost, on Tom Moody, who's a very, very astute coach. Might just be the second best coach in the competition. May even be the best. It depends how you view Mahela Jayawardene. And they've also got the bowlers to do it, haven't they? They've got Bhuvneshwar Kumar, who can dig it in a bit. They've got a couple of Indian pacers behind him as well, haven't they? Kaur's one of them. And Siraj as well. He's got a little bit of heat around him as well. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Sunil Narayan's getting some chin music in this game. Can Chris Lynn keep on doing it? That remains to be seen. The one advantage Sunrisers will have is both Tom Moody and Dave Warner will know an awful lot about Chris Lynn, having played or coached against them in domestic cricket. And Gautam Gambhir, he just played a weird shot in the last game, didn't he? It was crazy, really. This is the most level-headed guy you've ever seen in Indian cricket. And all of a sudden, when his team needed someone to stand up and bat, he decided to slog one straight down mid-wicket's throat. And I mean straight down his throat, never even had to move. So that was strange. Uthappa keeps on getting lives and punishing teams when he gets them. But if he doesn't get a life, will he top score? I don't know. Interesting thing. So maybe there's a chance that someone down the order can go well for Kolkata. Manish Pandey being the obvious pick. Yusuf Pathan, I mean, he came out on Saturday, didn't he? And it's like, I don't give a shite about this situation. If the ball's up, it's going. And that's probably the situation he's going to play in here as well. And maybe, the other one could be de Grandhomme down the innings, particularly if he comes up the order. Do they move him to open like he did earlier in the competition and shove Sunil Narayan down there, kind of throw a curve ball out there? That'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see how Kolkata bat in this match. As I highlighted right at the start of this podcast, they've got a question mark over them now, and it'll be interesting to see how they answer it.
Yeah, I think you can pretty much book in Uthappa as top scorer because he failed me the other day on the performance line. He even got a fucking stumping, didn't he? But just 2 with the bat, and that followed up from a duck. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll probably bounce back and get his life or 2 and make the most of it as usual. In this one now, I'm not actually on him. Yeah, interesting, intriguing game. I've got the feeling this could go right down to the wire. Usually the chasing team has the edge here, doesn't it, Kev?
Yeah, absolutely. I would imagine that would be the case. Although, we should level that out a little bit with this is knockout cricket, scoreboard pressure, runs on the board, But the one thing that we do know is whoever bats second, whatever the situation, there's no point in just tippy-tappy. Go down swinging.
Brilliant. Okay, well, as a reminder of the 2 bets from you, 14 or more sixes, and Shankar, top Sunrisers Hyderabad batsman. Now, we'll be back for the next match, which I do believe is called Qualifier 2.
Qualifier 2 on Friday, Steve, yeah.
And then the finals on Sunday. So 2 more matches left in this IPL, and we will be covering them both. So from this particular podcast, I'll say goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye from me too, Steve. Thanks as ever, and all the best, everyone. Hopefully Mr. Shankar delivers the goods for us.